Welcome back to another Roblox Studio tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can make an automatic weapon. You can use this as part of the first-person shooter if you want to, but I'm going to leave it as a separate video so that people can use it in different situations. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what it's going to look like. So as long as the player holds down the mouse to fire the weapon, it's going to shoot. And then whenever the player releases the mouse, it's going to stop. Alright, so that's our automatic weapon. Let's go ahead and dive in and see how we can do this in Roblox Studio. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is add a remote event into replicated storage. So to do that, we're going to find replicated storage in the Explorer menu. Next, you're going to click on the plus sign and then click on remote event. And then we're going to rename this remote event. So you can right click and then press rename. And then we're going to rename it to shot event. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is get our gun. For this example, I'm just going to take one from the toolbox. So if you want to use the same one as me, just go ahead and search gun. And then the gun I'm using is this one right here, the working pistol. So just go ahead and bring that into the game. What I'm going to do next is lift it off the base plate a little bit so that it doesn't get any weld inside of it. And then for this handgun, what I'm going to do is open it up. And then I'm going to delete everything except for the handle. So just go through and delete all the scripts. And then we don't need this extra part here. And then just get rid of the rest of the stuff here. And then inside the handle, we don't need any of these sounds. So just go ahead and delete them. And there we go. So all we need is the tool and then the handle part. The next thing we're going to do is look for a sound to play whenever we shoot the weapon. So we're going to use the drop down and go from models to audio. In the search box, we can type something like gunshot. Okay, and I'm going to use this one right here. It shouldn't really matter which one you use, so just go ahead and play a couple of them and see which one you like. You do want to make sure that it's kind of short though, so either 1 or maybe 2 seconds would be okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the handle, and then I'm going to select the sound that I want to use. And what that should do is should insert it right inside the handle. If for some reason it ends up in the workspace or somewhere else, you can just click it and then drag it to where you want to. So we're going to want that sound to be directly inside the handle. Okay, and for the next part, if you want the player to be able to pick up the gun while in the game, you can just leave it here. If you want the player to start with the gun, then what you're going to need to do is drag the handgun, go down to the starter pack, and then drop it inside. Okay, so once you have the gun either in the workspace or in the starter pack, we're going to add a local script inside of the handgun tool. So you can click on handgun, the plus sign, and then click on local script. The first thing we're going to do for the script is create a variable for the gun. So what we're going to do is we're going to say local gun, and that's going to be equal to script dot parent. So that's going to create a variable for the tool. After that, we're going to create a variable for the sound. So we'll say local gun underscore shot, and that's going to be equal to gun dot handle, since the sound is inside the handle. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to use square brackets, and then we're going to put the name of the sound. So in my case, the name of the sound is gunshot. So it's gun space and then shot. If you're using a different sound with a different name, just make sure you update it here. After that, we're going to define a variable for the player. So we'll say local player, and that's going to be equal to game.players.localPlayer. Next, we're going to make a variable for the player's mouse. So we'll say local mouse, and that's going to be equal to player get mouse. The next thing we're going to do is change the mouse icon to show a crosshair. To do that, we'll say mouse.icon, and that's going to be equal to, we're going to put quotation marks, and then we're going to put RBX, and then asset ID, and then we're going to put a colon, 2 slashes, and the ID for the crosshair icon is 117431027. Okay, and after that, we're going to create 2 more variables, one for the replicated storage and the other for the remote event. So we'll start by saying local replicated storage, and that's going to be equal to get service. Inside the parentheses, we're going to put replicated storage. And then for the remote event, we'll say local remote event, and that's going to be equal to replicated storage, wait for child, and then inside the parentheses, we'll put shot event. Now we're going to create a variable that we're going to use to keep track if the player is shooting or not. So we'll say local shooting, and we're going to set that equal to false to begin with. After that, we're going to say gun.equipped, connect. Inside the parentheses, we're going to put function. We'll put another set of parentheses, and then with our mouse in between the last two, we'll press enter, and that should automatically put the end right here. So what this is going to do, whenever the weapon is equipped, it's going to run the function that we're about to write. The first thing we're going to do inside this function is say mouse dot button 1 down. So button 1 is the left part of the mouse. After that, we're going to say connect. We're going to put parentheses and then another function. So after the word function, we're going to put our last set of parentheses, move our mouse over, and then press enter. So whenever the mouse is down, we want to set shooting equal to true. And then we're going to say while shooting. So while this variable is equal to true, what we're going to do is we're going to wait for 0.1 seconds. And later on, I'll show you how you can adjust that to increase the speed of your weapon. So after that small wait time, we're going to say remote event, fire server. And then inside the parentheses, there's a couple things we're going to send to the server. The first one is going to be gun.handle.position. We're going to put a comma, and then we're going to say gun.handle.orientation. Then one more comma. And for this one, we're going to say mouse.hit.p. Okay, so for the first one, it's going to be the position of the gun. The second one is going to be the orientation of the gun. And the third one is going to be the position of the mouse. So to play the sound, we'll say gun_shot. And then we'll say play with parentheses. And finally, we'll write one more function that'll detect when the mouse is released. So to do that, we'll say mouse.button1. And this time we're going to say up. So when it's released, we'll say connect. Inside the parentheses, we'll put function, more parentheses, and then we'll drop it down. And inside here, all we're going to do is we're going to say shooting is equal to false. So while the mouse button is down, it's going to repeat this over and over again. And what this is doing, it's sending information to the server where we're going to create the bullets and fire them. And then as soon as the mouse is released, it's going to set shooting to false, and that'll prevent this from repeating. Okay, so that's all good for the local side. So let's go ahead and work on the server side. To do that, inside the server script service, we're going to create another script, and I renamed this one to bullet create. So on this script, we're going to start with the same two variables for replicated storage and the remote event. So rather than retype them, let's just go and copy it from here. So I'm going to select these two lines, use Control-C to copy, and then we'll paste it over here. The next thing I'm going to do is say remote event dot on server event. I'm going to say connect. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to put function. And then inside the parentheses here are going to be the information that gets passed from the local side. So that's going to be player, which comes automatically. It's going to be gun position, which I'm going to shorten to gun POS. We also got the gun orientation. And then finally, we got the mouse position. Okay, I'm going to move my mouse in between the last two parentheses and then press enter. To create the bullet, I'm going to start by saying local bullet. And that's going to be equal to instance.new. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to put part. Then I'm going to say bullet.name. It's going to be equal to bullet inside quotation marks. Then we'll say bullet.parent. It's going to be equal to game.workspace. If you want to, you can create a folder inside the workspace to store all the parts. And then all you'd have to change is game.workspace and then dot the name of your folder. Okay, so after this one, we're going to define the shape of the bullet. So we'll say bullet.shape. So that's going to be equal to enum.part type. And then here, I'm just going to keep it simple and use a ball. After that, we're going to define its size. So we're going to say bullet dot size. And this is going to be equal to vector3 dot new. Inside the parentheses will be the dimensions of the ball. I found a good starting size is 0.5 for all three. But you can adjust these to whatever you want. If you want it to go smaller, then you're going to choose a smaller number for each one. So you can do something like 0.25 for each. But I'm just going to keep it 0.5 for now. The last thing we'll do is define the color of the bullet. So we'll say bullet dot brick color. That's going to be equal to brick color dot new. Inside here will be the name of the color. So I'm going to put inside quotation marks, and I'm just going to use gold. Okay, the next section of the code is going to move the bullet. So we'll start by saying local speed is going to be equal to, I'm going to start with 250, but I'll show you how this changes if you increase or decrease it. After that, we'll say bullet dot cframe is going to be equal to cframe dot new. Inside the parentheses, it's going to start at the gun's position, and then it's going to go to the mouse position. Then we're going to set the bullet's velocity. So we'll say bullet dot velocity, and that's going to be equal to bullet dot cframe dot look vector. And then we're going to multiply that by the speed. And finally, the last part of this code is going to remove the bullets so that we don't have a whole bunch that pile up. So to get rid of them, we're going to say game get service. Inside the parentheses, we're going to put debris. And then we're going to say add item. Inside these parentheses, we're going to say bullet. So that's the object we want to get rid of. And then we're going to clear it out after 2 seconds. So this is another part you can adjust. If you want to clear out quicker, then choose a smaller number. All right, and that should be everything we need. So let's go ahead and try it out. And while we're testing, we'll just go ahead and open up the output so we can check for errors. So I'll go ahead and equip the gun, and we'll fire. All right, so everything looks good. So let's go ahead and take another look at the script, and I'll show you some different parts you can change. So we're going to go back to the script inside the server script service. And one thing we'll change is we'll make the bullets a little bit smaller. So let's try 0.25. We can also give the bullets a different color. So instead of gold, let's try something like green maybe. Okay, let's reduce the speed. So I'm going to change it from 250 to 50. And then for this part, you can change it if you want to, but it's not really going to make a noticeable difference. All right, so let's go ahead and rerun it and see what happens. Okay, so now you can see our bullets are a little bit smaller, and they're also green. And you can see by reducing the speed to 50, they're slower, and they also don't shoot as far. So we probably don't want it as 50 because they're not going to be far enough to shoot someone. So let's go back to the script. So I'm going to change this part back to 250, and then we'll head to the local script. So this part right here is going to control how fast your automatic weapon is. So the fastest it can go would be having nothing here. So just like that. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how that looks. Okay, so this would be the fastest the automatic weapon can go. All right, and then you can also make it as slow as you want to. So for example, if you put a 1 there, it's only going to shoot 1 bullet per second. Okay, and as you can see, that's much slower. It's only shooting 1 bullet a second. And one thing I just noticed, and we'll probably change it before we end with this video, is if you have a wait time in the beginning, then it's going to take 1 second for the first shot to fire, and we probably don't want that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move this wait time, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And then I'm going to move it at the end, so right after this part right here, I'll put the wait for 1 second. So what that's going to do for us, it's going to go ahead and fire the first shot, and then it'll wait 1 second before the next one. So that way we don't have the delay time in the beginning. So let's see how that looks now. All right, and that looks better. So we don't have that delay time in the beginning. It fires immediately, and then after 1 second, it fires the next shot. All right, so that's going to be it for this video. Right now, the bullets aren't going to damage anything. I wanted to leave this video kind of open so that people can take it and use it however they want to. But I'm going to release some future videos that'll talk about how to make the bullets damage and some different situations. So if you want to suggest anything that you want to see added to this gun, let me know in the comments. For now though, I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next one.